everybody, and welcome to Mary Elizabeth Jones's Variety Hour.
Yes. Bring it a little closer. Phil, there's too much scenery. It's all green screen.
Yeah.
It's not real. We're actually in a studio in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yeah.
No, it's yeah, we don't use green screen on here. People always ask where we come up with these locations, but it's just wherever the world takes us.
Right, exactly. So.
Oh, my name's Kaye Lazar. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, anytime.
So, as it dawns closer, we always want to talk a little bit more about our projects, and then we could talk about other things. But you have tell us a little bit about the play you're in next week.
Yes, next weekend.
In case we don't do a show before then. If we do another show, we'll talk about that again.
Yeah, next weekend. Called A Mouse Tailor's Tale.
Okay.
And I will be playing 3 different parts.
The mouse, the tailor, and the tail?
No. the mouse customer.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
The cheese in the mousetrap?
Yeah, what are the 3 mice?
The 3 blind mice?
Not the 3 blind mice.
Things didn't work out for them so well.
And also a mouse reporter.
Mouse reporter.
Yeah, that reports about the mayor,
Yeah.
comes to town and all that. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a really cute show.
I plan not to like it because I don't like mice. I kill them in my house.
I mean,
when I saw Mickey Mouse and then I saw a mouse in real life in my house, we're talking about 20, 30 years ago. There's a big disconnect here.
Yeah, you're gonna love this one.
Oh, I know. You're in it, so I like it.
It's a comedy, so.
I'm one to talk. I once played a rat in a show.
Are you there for real?
Yeah, well, most famous rat of all time,
Wow.
Templeton the Rat.
Oh, okay.
In Charlotte's Web.
Oh, okay.
And then you and I played rodents. Once.
Yeah, we played Mr. and Mrs. Beaver.
Mr. and Mrs. Beaver.
At Chronicles of Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So.
You know, I'm in a show too. I'm in Little Women, which I'll talk about in a moment. A lot of these people I've been working with lately, I've never seen I've never worked with before. Right. So I had to say, a lot of them are very good actors.
I was going to play a little. I wanted to play a Little Women, but I'll be out of town this weekend, so I won't be able to, do the show this time.
Okay.
But I'm in another show next weekend.
Well, that's as long as you have another show.
Yeah, but I'm definitely going to see him in Little Women next weekend. So
yeah,
because I'll be
I'm
there
the star
anyway.
of the show of Little Women. That's why I'm growing my hair long. I'm gonna wear mascara and lipstick and everything, and pantyhose. Hot pants. I play one of the big women. Now, anyway, I play Mr. March, the father. Yeah.
Yes.
I was telling somebody it's sort of like the Wizard of Oz. They talk about you the whole play, and then you finally come in at the end and do absolutely nothing. Hello, I'm here. The end. Curtain comes down.
Okay.
Also, I got to tell you the ending of this Little Women. A lot of people have seen Little Women. There's a good show to take your kids to see because Beth doesn't die.
Oh, really?
I mean, she's very sick.
Yeah.
But we stop it if you know. And the reason why I bring this up is I was watching Friends the other day, and on it, Jennifer Aniston was making Joey read one of her favorite books, which was Little Women, and my ears perked up. Oh, I'm in that play right now. So there's a lot of Little Women jokes that I could use and stuff, and one of them was she got so mad at Joey near the end of the show for some other reason that Jennifer Aniston said to him, "And if you must know, Beth dies." And he goes, and it was like this, like in those movies, "No!" But this version is a nicer. There's still a lot of other stuff going on. It's still quite a intellectual story with me in it. How could it not be? But anyway, so I'm working with these women that I've never worked before.
Yeah.
Very nice women, very good actors. So I had to ask, what shows have you been in? I mean, shows, not the shows in our theater, but shows that they may have done in high school or places like that. And like, I'm not kidding you. Of the 4 Little Women, 3 of them have been in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe and played Mrs. Beaver.
Oh, wow.
So you had been in great company.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I was Mr. Beaver. I was excited. I didn't play Mrs. Beaver. I played Mr. Beaver, and I played all the great parts.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
When you're in the theater, and you, especially for
I played
children,
good parts too.
Well, tell us about them.
Yeah, well, I played Mrs. Beaver, of course, with him, and I played the Villager of Beauty and the Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had a lot of solo parts in it,
Mm-hmm.
so it was really cool. So
Mm-hmm.
I love having solo parts.
Yeah.
So because I could like show how much good of talent that I am.
Yes.
You know.
The show isn't enough. I don't have to show off my talent. I just show up here. It's over. Good night. Some people have to sing and dance and stand on their head. I just show up.
I also play Grady from Into the Woods.
Okay.
And Woodstock from Your Good Me and Charlie Brown.
Wow.
And Flotty from Susical.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the good parts I played.
Yeah.
You know.
I played so many, and I was joking that there's certain staples in the children's theater. There's like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Charlotte's Web, Alice in Wonderland,
Yeah.
Little Women,
Oh, yeah.
and
I've played all Little Women except for a smaller version.
yeah. Who'd you play?
I played Sally Moffat.
Oh, Sally. Okay.
Yeah,
Sally.
yeah. I got to play her at the last minute
Yeah.
because there was somebody else who was supposed to play her.
Yeah.
But they dropped
Yeah,
out.
Sally.
So this was like about 5 years ago, almost.
And so, but there are certain shows that, and if you're in the children's theater, you eventually play all these parts. I think I've said this before, is that sooner or later, everyone in the children's theater, if you have any sort of career in it, is you play the Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
Playing the Mad Hatter in the children's theater is almost like playing Hamlet in the Shakespearean theater.
Right.
Oh, I'm going to aspire to playing the Mad Hatter.
Right.
And then you play it, and you play it like an actor would play Hamlet. You play it like, I don't care about all the other actors who have played it, Johnny Depp and Martin Short and Peter Sellers and all those people and
Yeah.
that's always played it. You say, how do I play it differently from all the others? How do I make myself stand out? That's how you make yourself.
Right.
That's basically the secret of acting, is how you make yourself different from everyone else.
Right, exactly.
So
Yeah.
they'll see it and say, "Oh, yeah, well, I like the way he did it, but your version, I got an extra nuance." I didn't know. You know the actor who played Max Headroom?
I'm not really sure.
I know
who
his name.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know.
Oh, I know. The story about it. Like,
Well, it was a guy called Matt Frewer.
Matt Frewer.
I think he was a
okay.
Canadian. He's still around. I think he was a Canadian actor. He was in a movie I saw recently. Not a movie. No, I tell you what I saw him in. That show about doctors in the. I think it was one of those. Not Harry Potter, but the ones that came out, Fantastic Beasts.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, all this Tour of the Century stuff. And I looked at it and said, "Oh, that's the actor Matt Frewer who used to play.
Okay.
Who used to play Max Headroom." Tell us about Max Headroom.
Yes. Back in the late 1980s, around 1987, there's in Chicago. There's their local news in Chicago,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this I think it was like a hacker or some like stunt, like like a joke
Yeah.
prank or something, and they interrupted a TV program, which I think it did it a couple times, and they showed this guy that had like the mask, of Max Headroom look-alike.
Oh, okay. It wasn't like the real Hollywood version of
Yeah,
it. It was just like some guy with a Halloween mask.
Yeah,
mask
yeah. And it scared everybody. Nobody knew what to think of it. You know.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't live in Chicago, but I studied it on YouTube.
Didn't they never found who did it? From what I understand.
Yeah.
It was a secret. It was a lot of times, these are the type of stunts that you don't want to take credit for.
Right.
Because then, okay, let me tell you about the bigger story. if you could take advantage, and you always see this in spy movies, and you see it in sometimes even superhero movies, where where someone gets to cut into the transmission of a TV network and start saying, "Here is my manifesto for how the world is going to be run once I become," and the guy's wearing a mask or something. Now it could be a bunch of nonsense, but it also they take it seriously, the government, because if anyone can do that, they could really cause a lot of trouble. They may be a foreign country that is trying to invade us and trying to nuke us or something.
Yeah, I'll be happy to post a video.
Okay. And but it was Max Headroom, yes.
Yeah.
Because Max Headroom at the time, I guess this was the late 1980s, was a very popular.
It was a TV show.
It was a computer-generated man. It was supposed to be which I already kind of foreshadowed what I was going to say. Sort of a harbinger of artificial intelligence, how you could create a cartoon character that with his own voice and dialogue in a computer, and then broadcast. And then he had his own, I think, interview show, and then he had a show. But actually, as it turned out, it wasn't as ambitious as everyone thought it was. It was actually just a guy, an actor, who I just mentioned, Matt Frewer, who they kind of, I think, put some sort of green screen all over his face, and they kind of manipulated his. But he was still doing the voices and still coming up with the things to say.
Right.
It wasn't like a computer was thinking it through, because ever since then, since the 1980s, there's been great leaps in that type of technology.
Yeah.
And but as it turned out, it was all a hoax. Now the show was very entertaining. I remember the character appeared on the David Letterman show.
Yeah.
He had his own interview show. I think he interviewed Jack Lemmon on the show, on his show on like HBO or Cinemax or something. And then there was, of course, the TV show was very good. It had, I think, the actor. This actually kind of ran its course. It was the last of the show. It was kind of an innovative show on ABC, I think, on Tuesday nights. And what it was he I think he was like solving crimes or something. The guy got hit in the head, and then he became this. They were able to transfer his brain to a computer, okay. and he was kind of like brain dead or something. I don't know how it worked, but then he could use his mind to do all that, and that was. But that was a very interesting show.
Right.
It was one of those shows you watched. There was like 6 episodes or something, and the first 2 were very good, and then after that, I said, "Well, there's more of the same." It doesn't really change that much.
Right.
The same thugs, the same landscape. Everything about the future, and it took place in the future, like 10 years into the future or something. Everything in the future is very like poor, and everyone's living. There's fire. There's there's garbage cans, with the flame and all the people warming their hands.
Yeah.
This is what we're that's what we're looking forward to.
Yeah.
Things getting worse.
Yeah.
But so there were a lot of hoaxes when I was growing up. I have this book about hoaxes, and it is very fascinating. I used to hear these stories from people, and almost every time I'm surprised, I guess, because of the pandemic, there hasn't. You would think there'd be more of that. We were all at home, but worried about what's going on next. But I heard stories like a guy hadn't seen his girlfriend in a long time, and then he picked her up in a bar or something, and he was very excited, and then they spent the night, and then she left in the middle of the night while he was asleep. And then he goes into the bathroom when he gets up there, and wondering where she was. And written in lipstick on the mirror was, "Welcome to the wonderful world of AIDS."
Oh.
And, of course, freaked him out. Oh. Now, I heard this story a lot, and it never happened. Or if it happened, it didn't happen the way I did. There's also a old wives' tale where... this is one I heard a lot when I was a kid. There was a this is a pretty wild story. There was it usually was a new department store that just recently closed or something.
Yeah.
So department stores were famous for being up for a year or two and then closing because of lack of business.
Yeah.
And they said, "Don't you know the real reason why it closed?" I'll give you 2 stories. One is pretty cool. One is there was a kidnapping there. I said, what happened? Well, it didn't really come to completion. What happened was some woman was hysterical. She couldn't find her kid that was taken out of the cart, stroller, while I was, I don't know, in the dressing room or something. They looked all over for the kid. They turned off all they locked all the doors. They called the police. They couldn't find the kid. And then there was one, like, adjunct to the employee bathroom where there was a window.
Oh, okay.
And then it was like I think it was a little girl, actually. She couldn't find her little girl. So then they knock on the door. Is there anyone in there? Anyone in there? And then they bang down the door, and the window was all broken. Someone had escaped, and the girl had her head shaved and dressed in boys' clothes, ready to be kidnapped.
Wow.
But the cops came too close, and they said, well, there was a security risk.
Wow.
So I heard this all the time when I was a kid.
Wow.
And then I had to say, that's like the third time I've heard this story and it's a different city, a different town. The other one I heard, and this is a really wild story, was, let's see if I didn't plan on telling this story, so I have to get it right. There was I think this supposedly happened at a place sort of like the Burlington Coat Factory. In some stories it is the Burlington Coat Factory, but it never happened. But this is the story I heard. A woman bought a fur coat at the Burlington Coat Factory for a discount, and there was like a little tag stapled on the inside of the coat, and she put it on when she got home, and I think pricked her finger or pricked her arm, and then she and then they didn't understand what happened. And then she dies.
Oh, wow.
Then she dies. It was an infection or something. Was the mink coat infected or something?
Wow.
And then it happened in another city. The same style mink coat. And a woman, I think, got hooked on the staple on the inside of the coat where the tag was or something like that. So then an autopsy says she didn't get killed from the infection from the staple or the hook or the metal brad or whatever it was. What killed her was a venom from a snake you can only find in the rainforests of South America.
Wow.
I said, wow, what's that all about? And they said, and it wasn't it was a snake that was in the mink coat. And so they rushed to both women's houses, find the mink coat, and tear it open, and there's a snake, a baby snake in there that had slithered through and came all the way to America from the thing. Oh, the story even gets even wilder. So then they have to recall all the mink coats.
Right.
Luckily, not a whole lot of them were sold, maybe about a couple dozen. So no one else got sick. But then this is quite a story.
Right.
They had these guys with big knives, big swords, and they were just chopping up these in the store after hours, chopping up these mink coats, and all these snakes were just piling out.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And I heard that story.
Wow.
When I was a kid. Oh, it's probably quite impressive.
Wow.
So, what other hoaxes have you heard?
I've heard this other thing that happened in Chicago.
Yeah.
They have like the missing persons, pictures,
Oh yeah.
around midnight or whatever. When
You mean the 10 most wanted? No, the missing persons. Yeah, the missing. persons.
Yeah. And there's this lady that was on the picture, and they didn't think she was missing because I think they just put it on there. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Might have been just a hoax, or they never found her.
Mm-hmm.
Her name was Joanna Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
It was back in around 1989 or 1991. So, and they still showed the same picture, and they didn't even know where she was or nothing. It's been happening for I think a few years, and then I don't think she was. I think they were trying to find clues about which. There was the picture was kind of like hard to see because it was like really like it was in black and white, and it was like all like blurry and all that, and I'll be happy to show it to you on the comments too. So,
Yeah.
and they're still trying to figure out who this Joanna Lopez was.
Yeah. They're still looking for her.
Yeah.
Is she a real person?
Well, she is a real she might be a real person, but I don't know if she's a real missing person.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Well, there was stories like some of these I kind of believe they were true.
Yeah.
There were people on 9/11. There's a lot of stories about 9/11. That it was an inside job and all this, nonsense and stuff. And then people were told. I've heard Jewish people. I'm Jewish. Jewish people were told it was an inside job by the Jews, by the and that no Jews died in 9/11, and all the Jews that were working in the World Trade Center were told the night before not to come to work that day. As it turned out, there were plenty of Jews, sadly, that died. Plenty of everybody that died in 9/11. But I heard a story about 9/11 where. I think it was actually made it to an episode of NYPD Blue where somebody thought they would fake their death by claiming that they were by having their people claim that they were there when the towers came down, and thus they're living with a different name somewhere else. They were able to get out of debts and get out of a bad marriage. I don't know what the, but so there's a lot of on a lighter note, today somebody I saw on the internet wanted me to see something about Bozo the Clown in Chicago, a game that was being played there. And it was where a kid, I think, won a bunch of prizes on it. And that was basically it. But growing up, I heard this wild story about Bozo the Clown.
Wow.
where some kid is playing some sort of game on the show. It's a live show. And there's a time, there's a like 30 seconds he has to do some silly thing, throw a ball into a hoop or something. And he doesn't get it in at the 30-second mark. And the kid goes, "Damn it!"
Ah!
So as he says, "Worse." and Bozo turns to him and says, "That's a Bozo no." And then the kid goes, "Cram it, clown!" and then he starts having a tirade, yelling at all the kids that are also in the game. And then they go to a commercial, and in the background you hear all this shuffling around and trying to get the kids back in order. And Bozo was yelling at everybody in his real voice, not in his Bozo voice. And I was hoping that was the clip. Instead, it was just a typical clip. A lot of times, before videotape, none of these things exist. I was hearing the other day there was a famous clip of the Tonight Show where Rich Little was hosting it, and Dick Shawn was a guest, and he just went crazy, as for comic effect. Dick Shawn, of course, was in It's a Mad World, and also the producers. He was a very funny comedian, and Richard Little was funny, is still funny. And I think at one point he turned the desk over. Carson's desk was Carson was not there, and pretended it was a canoe, a rowboat, or something. Yeah. And he just demolished and then when Carson came the next day, he said both those guys are banned for good on the show. Yeah. You will never see Dick Shawn or Rich Little, but there's no videotape of it. Rich Little is still the only one still alive of those three, and said that it did happen. And what else? And I think they both did appear years later on the show. Not together, but the ban was lifted,
Right.
So, there's all these things you have to take with a grain of salt. There is a website, Snopes. Snopes.com.
Sounds familiar.
And there's urbanlegend.com. There's all these Snopes is probably the best one. And almost every time something hits There's also a TV show, Myth Makers,
Yeah.
where they try to prove these things are true or false, and they put it to the test, and in a scientific experiment. And then, of course, there's Snopes, usually having to do with celebrities and stuff, or
Right.
politics, or things in culture. And trouble is, it's on the internet, and it's very interesting. You can spend hours just reading all these derivations of where these things come from and everything. And usually when some crackpot on the internet prints something that you prefer not to read
Right.
about Biden,
Oh yeah, that is hilarious.
or about Obama, usually about left-wing politicians, to them, I think Barry Goldwater would be too left-wing for them.
Yeah.
They would. Of course, I would. I don't want. I'm not a. I think now. I think Facebook and YouTube and are getting smart to it. If
Yeah.
it comes to their attention, that
Right.
they'll either yank it or put some disclaimer. This is not. This has been proven not to be true. But anyway, I will send the link to Snopes that actually disproves the nonsense they're saying.
Okay.
And then sometimes they will come back and say, yes, Snopes is a CIA-funded terrorist organization
Right.
that wants to make us all communists
Right.
and child molesters. And
Right.
that itself is something Snopes should look at. And they said, and thus, anytime you disprove any wonderful
Yeah.
news I give, there's. I remember when I was a kid, Dear Abby would print all these crazy things.
Oh yeah, and Landers.
Well, yeah, they were sisters.
Yeah.
They printed good stuff too, but advice. But every once in a while, you would hear crazy stuff, and then there was sometimes you hear on Fox News, usually not the announcers on there, but the guests will say crazy things. But Tucker Carlson or Bill O'Reilly or any of these guys do not refute it; they just let it run because
Right.
it serves its purpose if it helps their case. But then, someone was once telling me a whole bunch of nonsense they heard on the news once.
Oh.
And I said, if I should be so bold. Now, this was the New York Times, or was it like CBS News, or was it, goes, no, I don't watch it. I don't pay attention to any of that junk. I only watch the only good news network. And I pretty much know what he's going to say.
Yeah.
And I said, and what network would that be? And he said, Fox News, of course.
Huh?
And I said, I hate to break this to you, but Fox News is the professional wrestling of journalism. They might as well have guys wearing championship
Right.
belts
Right.
with jewels in them,
Right.
giving the news there. So anyway, but I remember reading when I was a kid, Dear Abby, and my mom believed everything Dear Abby or Dr. Laura or any of these people said,
Yeah.
and she would cut out the article in the newspaper and hang it up on the refrigerator and said, read this. This is and I remember there was two that really are wild stories. One is a kid drowned in a swimming pool. It's very funny already. A kid drowned in a swimming pool because it was a big swimming pool, like an Olympic-sized swimming pool,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
summer association type place, neighborhood association.
Yeah.
And there was like two lifeguards. One was at one end, one was at the other one. The kid was drowning on the other end, but the lifeguard did not come to the other end while the other lifeguard was in the bathroom or something,
Oh, okay.
or flirting with a girl or something. There's always some sort of story
Yeah.
because that wasn't his side of the pool. He was allowed to take care of, so the kid just drowned. And which makes no sense. You would think that no matter where you are in a pool, there's going to be people coming to your help. And also in a pool, it's very hard to drown. There's always people around to, babies and very small children have drowned. But for the most part, bigger kids are rescued from a pool. I mean, people want to help. People don't want to see a kid drown. I'm not sure I was going to hold back and look at it. I wonder if this kid's going to save himself. No, you don't do that. The other thing is, and then the other story is, it's a really wild story. It usually has a religious overtone. Was a how did it go? A kid graduated from high school, and he wanted a sports car for his graduation, and so the father, thinking the kid was a brat, decided to teach him a lesson, and gave him a Bible. He said, "This is what you need: a Bible. Read the Bible. It'll do you better than any sports car." And the kid, of course, throws a fit. He's a brat. He throws a fit. He leaves home, never talks to the father again for something like 40 years. Never talks to him again.
Right.
The father dies after 40 years.
Yeah.
The kid is old, like probably 60 years old now.
Yeah.
And he said, "Did you ever read that Bible?" His sister says, "Did you ever read that Bible he gave you?" He goes, "No, I never read that Bible." He goes, "I think you should read it." And so he opens the Bible, and it's all hollowed out, and there's a key to a sports car that the father was going to give him. But the kid was too much of a jerk to open the Bible.
Wow.
And I think the moral of that story is you read your Bible.
That means God has blessed you.
But
More
it
than
never.
you think.
But you would think somewhere along the line the father would tell the kid,
Right.
"Hey, maybe after a year or two, hey, there's a key in there for a new sports car."
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
A key and a lease or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people want to believe, and of course, when Dear Abby would ever print these things, there would be all these letters, like sort of like the comment section.
Yeah.
That say, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, go get them, Dad. Bunch of
Yeah. Just like some people believe scammers.
scammers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Like they keep calling you every day now.
Yeah.
And then when you answer the phone, some people answer them. Like
Well, I get calls all the time.
I get this all the time too.
I get
but
calls.
I totally ignore them.
Well, I mean, I get calls that I think are real. I mean, I see
Yeah.
the phone number. It's not like it says.
Right.
If it was from Venezuela or somewhere, then I know. I don't know anyone in Venezuela what we call it. But sometimes they have the local area code.
Yeah.
And then I say, "Oh, well, that must be local. Then someone in town is calling me or something." So then I answer it, and they want to know about my car's insurance warranty.
Yeah.
They want to know about my insurance. They want to know about my health care.
Yes.
The craziest thing they want to hear about is that I applied for Social Security disability benefits, which I'm too young to get Social Security disability.
Yeah.
I don't have any disability. How about ability benefits for keeping Social Security solvent by not cashing in? But I mean, they tell you all. I mean, and it makes no sense at all.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, thanks for. I hope you see the show's also educational.
Yes. I hope you all learn from it. So, and we're going to take a few-minute break, and we will get back to you. in a little bit. May God bless you.